The Predators trim their training camp roster to 26 players. We'll look at who's in and who's out. Plus, Preds start the preseason 0-4. How concerned should we be about that, really? Plus, heading into the last week of camp, what should Preds fans watch out for? We'll talk about that today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day, every single day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start with a special hello to our loyal Locked On Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys. We appreciate the support you give us week after week. I'm Nick Morgan. I am a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and normally Ann Kemell is with me, but instead we are bringing in the Kevin Lincoln into her UC Saros, Alex Daugherty from Penalty Box Radio. Alex, thank you for jumping on, man.
Definitely. What's up, Nick? How are you?
It is October, which means, man, finally regular season hockey this month.
This month. That's right. Yeah. Exciting.
We were talking earlier, a while ago, is just the Preds not making the playoffs for some reason seems to make the offseason like a year and a half longer than even just getting knocked out of the first round. Makes it seem. It just seems like forever since we've seen any meaningful Preds hockey.
Yeah, it has been a long summer, but at the same time with the draft here, it felt very busy. Now, the month of August is always the worst month of the year. I mean, for me personally, it's like, you have almost nothing happening in the hockey world. It's like there's occasionally a signing or like something that happens that's worth talking about, but it is just such a desert. And August is gone, and then September you get training camp, obviously. But man, it does feel like it's been a long summer.
Yeah. Luckily, we're getting closer because the first Nashville Predators regular season game is a week from tomorrow. A couple of preseason games still to get to, and of course, some big storylines regarding who's going to be on the team. And that's where we start today. The Predators trimming their roster to 26 players. A lot of players sent to Milwaukee, most notably guys like Spencer Stastney, Joakim Kemell, Yaroslav Askarov, and everyone's favorite retro Pred, Cal O'Reilly. Still the best O'Reilly on the team, let's be honest. Alex, looking at the news yesterday, any sort of standout or takeaway from the roster moves?
Yeah, I mean the one that stands out the most is Marc Del Gaizo still being around. I still don't really. We don't know what's going to happen over the next week or so. They have 2 more preseason games to play. Sorry, I have this light in my eye. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, you're good.
There we go. We still don't know exactly what's going to happen over the next week. They got 2 more preseason games, so likelihood, and the Admirals camp starts this week, but they don't have any games for a while, so it's likely that at least we'll see some of these guys come up because they got 2 more preseason games. They don't want to play their full roster for both those games. But Del Gaizo still being in camp, it surprises me only because I would have thought Spencer Stastney or Jake Livingstone would have made that cutoff before him. Del Gaizo has been fine, but if you have the choice between Del Gaizo, who has not any NHL experience, and another guy who does, who's probably got a better skill set, I'm talking about Stastney, of course. Why go with him? But I don't know. Maybe they like something in him better, or maybe they just want to see him in camp for a few more days before they make their final decision.
Yeah, let's talk about Del Gaizo a little bit because Anna and I have talked about this a lot, where he was sort of the top dog in the Predators franchise in terms of defensive depth for a little bit. Of course, he had the helped UMass get to the national title. There's a lot of people that really liked his play in the development camps. And I think when he came in, a lot of people were like, oh, this might be a guy who might make some noise at the NHL level. And then he kind of got passed on the depth chart by guys like Spencer Stastney. And some other players coming in. And so it seems like we kind of forgot about him a little bit. And, heading into this camp, I mean, yeah, like I agree with you. Like, there's guys like Spencer Stastney that maybe have some more upside, more NHL experience. But at the same time, Marc Del Gaizo has looked pretty good in camp, better than some regular NHL guys out there. I'm not going to say who, but it's times with Bear Me Bazan. And so, I don't hate it. We were talking about this on, our Penalty Box radio chat, and I thought Boyd Farish made a good point. It's like, if you're looking at just like any one skill set that jumps out, Spencer Stastney is going to have better skating than Marc Del Gaizo. Jake Livingstone might be, better, more of a stalwart in front of his own net than Marc Del Gaizo. But at the same time, like Del Gaizo has been solid enough in a lot of different areas that, he has stood out and he has looked, NHL ready.
I think one thing that stands out for him, for me, is his mindset. So this was a week or so ago when we had this whole day where we got to talk to almost all of them. I mean, we got a lot of guys to come up to the podium, and we wanted to get a lot of guys that, we probably wouldn't see over the course of the year. I mean, we got Troy Grosnick up there. We got Marc Del Gaizo. We got Joakim Kemell. We got Svechkov. All these guys that we're probably not going to see anytime soon, but that we wanted to talk to. And a lot of them had very similar takes on the camp. They're happy to be here, maybe a little bit, overwhelmed with everything that's happening. I mean, they're out there trying to compete with 30-year-old veterans. But Del Gaizo seemed very different. He came up like almost, I don't want to say angry, but he came up like very focused.
Yeah.
He was like, I think he said, I have kind of a chip on my shoulder, and I want to prove that I'm the guy that they should be calling on. I mean, he didn't say like, I'm better than Stastney, or I'm better than Jake, or I'm better than Jeremy, or whatever. But like, that was the vibe, was he wanted to prove that I am here to be the best and to make the team and to be in Nashville when the season opens. So like, I think his mindset probably more than anything stood out to me. I mean, he definitely had a different vibe than those other guys.
Yeah, and he talked about that. I mean, it's got to be tough for him, seeing, Spencer Stastney get called up, and, at times like Jordan Gross and Roland McCown and, some of these veteran guys. That was a guy who really wanted his chance. And hey, like if this is the year that it happens, like good for him, because he's making the most of his chance. The only other takeaway from the Preds roster news yesterday, Alex, and I'd like to start this off by saying I'm not like gung-ho about this. Like I'm not like grabbing like the pitchforks and torches and heading to Barry Trotz's office or anything like that. I'm just bringing it up as in Joakim Kemell maybe deserved like one or two more preseason games. And I'm not saying that like he doesn't have anything that he needs to work on. Like he's still, I think, you and I have talked, he still has some things he needs to work on. Nobody was really expecting him to make the team. But he has been a strong standout, I think, both in the practices and in the preseason games. So I thought like maybe Brunette would have kept him just one more time, maybe be like, okay, maybe you've played well enough to sort of earn a spot. But that was kind of the only other one that I was like, okay, maybe that could have been something else.
I do think that we will see him in one more game. I think he's going to come up and play in one of those two games this week. I don't know. I can't promise that or anything, but I can't see a scenario in which they don't give him at least one more shot. I mean, the moves yesterday, they scream paper moves to me. I mean, I think a lot of these guys are still here. And, maybe some of them that are obviously going to be in Milwaukee to start are there, but I just feel like Kemell probably is going to get another chance. Having said that, yeah, I agree with you. He's been fantastic, and he was great in he was great in the rookie showcase, and he was pretty much the only threat, I think, in the first 2 games against Florida, although those games were horrible.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think, did he score on? Yeah, he did score.
He scored the last game. Yeah.
Yeah, in the last game, that's right. The goal right in front, the pass from Trennan. Yeah. So he scored that one. And yeah, he's looked great. I mean, he has a skill set that they need. He has a skill set that they need badly in a position that they've never really developed well. I would not be shocked at all if he starts in Milwaukee to begin the season. But yeah, I think they need to see him a little bit more this week. So we'll see if that happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's going to be something interesting to watch in the last couple of preseason games to see if there's anybody that comes back up from the Admirals camp. As we alluded to, the Predators have played 4 preseason games, and the vast majority of them, they didn't go well. We'll talk about what to make of the Predators' 0-4 start and whether there's actually anything in those games that maybe should concern fans. We'll get to that in just a second, but first I want to mention today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. We all know what makes a winning team: passion, drive, and patience. And that's what brings home the trophies. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, Alex, we are talking about the Nashville Predators training camp so far, and one of the big takeaways has been that the Predators have yet to win a preseason game. 0-4 this year. Of course, the caveat is it's just preseason. It doesn't matter. Random people are coming into the lineup in and out every game. But I will ask, is there anything in these preseason games that make you go, that may be bad?
I think the first 2 you can throw out pretty handedly.
Yeah.
Talking to some of the team, like when they came back, they seemed like they knew that was going to be a pretty rough day for them because they knew they were going to play all the young kids, the Kalen Linds and the 18-year-olds and Tanner Mollendikes and all those people, all the draft picks. And they knew that they were going to be up against Florida's best top guys, Yeah. I mean, Kalen Lind going up against Sasha Barkov, like what in the world is he supposed to do in that matchup? Like he's not going to succeed at this level yet. So, so the first 2 I really wouldn't worry about. It's really that third game against Tampa that they lost 2-1 at home to a really depleted, kind of the opposite, where the top lineup for the Nashville Predators is in, and the very D team of the Lightning is in, including a guy in goal who just stoned them left and right, Matt Tompkins. Now they recovered Saturday and played a lot better and scored several goals and nearly won that game. But nothing to be concerned about. But I did want to point out this, and I know people are going to roll their eyes at this a little bit because I'm pulling up advanced stats in the preseason.
Let's go.
But I think this is important. Okay, so the last 3 games. So the first game, the 5-0 loss, terrible. That was a really bad game.
Yeah. The
last 3 games in the preseason, 5-on-5 expected goals percentage. So like anything over 50% here is good. 53% in game 2, 56% in game 3, and 61% on Saturday against Tampa. So 3+ games where they had an expected goals percentage of over 50% and also getting better each game, right? So like improving 61%. I mean, if you play 82 games and get 61% expected goals every game, you're going to win a lot of games. So I feel like there's a lot that's going well. They still haven't even really implemented everything that they're going to do yet. And it's the trend for me that I think you'd like to see is they're getting better as they go along. Maybe they see maybe they win one of these last 2 games and even have that momentum going into the regular season. But I think overall there's a lot of good things.
Yeah, and that last game against the Lightning, that preseason game, that was probably as close to a regular roster, regular season matchup as you're going to have. The Predators played, I would say pretty much their what's going to be their regular top 9. The Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, played a regular lineup: Stamkos, Kucherov, Braden Point, all-star forward Austin Watson, who scored a goal in the game. So, it was, a regular-ish lineup, and the Predators put up 47 shots on goal. And that's a really good thing.
I mean, they outshot Tampa. When was the last time that they outshot Tampa? Maybe they outshot Tampa one of those games during the COVID shortened season when they played Tampa like 8 times, maybe once. But I don't even, maybe not. Like them out shooting teams is so rare over the last like 5 years.
Yeah. You could pick any team, not even Tampa, and just say, when was the last time they outshot them? And I would have been like, you may have a point there.
I feel like they've never outshot Carolina. Probably ever. Like they've never had more shots than Carolina Hurricanes ever.
Maybe once in like 2009 or something like that.
Maybe during the Laviolette era, probably at some point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the best way to sum up the preseason so far for me, Alex, is there have been flashes of what this team can look like under Andrew Burnett. You're seeing little moments where it's just, the puck movement is crisp and the Preds are on the front foot and the Preds are attacking and they're swarming the puck. Combined with some moments that you look at and say, oh yeah, that's the Nashville Predators of the past 3 years. I think there is, kind of one sequence in that third period early on. And, of course it was Tampa, so take it with a grain of salt, but it was just, they sort of, got swarmed and sort of, kind of retreated into sort of their little turtle shell defensive format. Like, let's just not make a mistake kind of thing that we saw under John Hines. The discipline has still kind of been a little bit off. So I would say it's sort of at that stage where you kind of see what this team can be. There's just sort of a lot of hangover from how they've played these sort of mediocre past couple of seasons that they still kind of have to work out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. The penalties and special team stuff is a work in progress. That's going to take a while. They refuse to stop taking penalties. It's just either because I do think there were a couple times where the referees were really trying to call a lot to, like they do in the preseason sometimes.
Yeah.
But they keep going to the box, and then their power play just, I mean, it's not been like horrible, but it just still feels like they're trying to figure out exactly what kind of power play they're going to have. They've switched around the personnel a little bit. It's a different looking power play. I mean, 2 of the guys, really 3 if you count Ekholm from most of the year last year, but right. 2 of the top guys are gone for Johansson and Duchesne. So you're already replacing them. And Ryan O'Reilly is like, I mean, he's a power play guy, but he's not like those guys. He doesn't have the same offensive punch. He has a solid power play presence. He's not bad in that area, but he's not like Duchesne's, offensive ability. He's not like Johansson. He's just different. So, like, the power play is going to be weird for a while. I think the penalty kill will probably be just as good, probably. But, yeah, it's like you said, there's a lot of things they're still trying to shake off from the last 3 years.
Yeah. The penalty kill is going to be great as long as number 74 is on the penalty killing unit.
Yeah.
That I think fixes a lot of problems for the Nashville Predators. There is 1 week of training camp left before the Preds get to the regular season, and a couple of interesting things to watch. So we're going to talk about what the biggest storylines to watch for in this final week leading to the regular season are. But first, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens and their product AG1. I love this. This is something that I take first thing in the morning. I have a glass of water, pump up some AG1, 1 scoop in a bottle of water every day, shake it up, down it, and then I am ready for the day. I feel unstoppable, ready to go. I have so much energy just because I know I'm doing something good for my body. Again, what I like about AG1 is it's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on different vitamins, minerals, set little reminders on your phone to figure out when you're supposed to take what. Instead, just one time in the morning, and you're adapting 75 high-quality ingredients that give you daily nutrients and support energy, focus, recovering, strength, and clarity. Plus, it's less than $3 a day, which is definitely cheaper than the daily Starbucks run you guys are making. It's an effective daily habit with high quality sourced ingredients. So win-win there. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to drinkag1.com/NHL network. Again, drinkag1.com/NHL network to check it out. All right, Alex, we are 1 week away, I guess a week and 1 day to the start of the regular season. 2 more preseason games to get to, both against the Carolina Hurricanes and a couple more practices to get to. And to me, maybe just the biggest kind of storyline to watch out for is who's going to wind up sort of where in terms of a routine lineup. We've seen Andrew Brunette shift some things around in camp. There may be like you can kind of pick out pairings in the top 9, but who's going to play with them is still kind of up in the air. So to me, that kind of feels like maybe just the biggest in general thing to watch for in this final week of camp.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to be paying attention mostly to the forward lines. It seems like the defense is already set. Like it's going to be Yossi and Shen, it's going to be McDonough and Barry, and it's going to be Lauzon and either Fabbro or Carrier, which means that one of the $2.5 million defensemen is going to be healthy scratched every night, that's excellent.
That's certainly a thing.
And so the forward lines, all right. So the one that I'm very confident in, and it's not the top line, the one that I'm pretty confident we're going to see probably opening night is Novak with Tomasino and Evangelista.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that one on Saturday, and they looked excellent. Novak and Evangelista have to be paired together at this point, I think.
Yeah.
And Tomasino makes sense because they're kind of a cohort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I think that's a line I feel very confident in. But the rest of it, I'm unsure. Parsonen, is he going to be more like a bottom liner with Cole Smith and Colton Sissons? Is he going to be more near the top and have like Sherwood with his line, or Trennan? What? And then Sherwood's a guy that I have no idea. He could fit anywhere. He could be on the top line with O'Reilly and Forsberg. He could be on the bottom with Michael McCarron. I have no idea. So he's a guy I don't know where he's going to end up. And then Sissons is a guy you can pretty much put anywhere. But the forward lines are what I'm most interested in, and what we'll probably hope to see them in the last 2 games, this Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, that top line is going to be fascinating just because we've seen so many people rotate in and out with O'Reilly and Forsberg. Those are kind of the only sure things on that top line, of course. But we saw Cole Smith spend some time on the top line, both in camp and in a preseason game. Then we saw Denis Gurianov in the preseason game taking some reps. We saw Colton Sissons have some moments on the top line as a winger instead of a center. I don't know if that was just because, they want to get another look, or if that's something Andrew Brunette is seriously considering. But I think that just goes to tell you that, this can go, a bunch of different ways. Like Juuso Parssinen played center mostly in the preseason game, but he's also, a lot of people think he can be a winger. Does he elevate up to that number one line role? So, I mean, it just seems like if Andrew Brunette can figure out that, then it seems like maybe the rest, fall in place a little bit. The other one we mentioned, Cody Glass and Gustav Nyquist, those two have been working together from the first practice. They've been together every preseason game. So, I would say that's certainly the other part of line 2A, 2B, whatever you want to call those lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just seems like, there's still sort of, picking and choosing who goes where. And I will say it's exciting and it's good because it does feel like everybody, is kind of getting a look compared to, let's compare that to last year when the Preds entered camp. And basically the only roster battle was who's going to be, the number 2 winger. And, it feels like this has kind of opened things up a little bit more and has guys, maybe, and I think the bigger thing, they have guys playing maybe differently than they've been in the past. So I feel like this is Andrew Brunette and Barry Trotz going, you know what, forget, the role you played in, under John Hines' system or even Peter Laviolette's system. This is your chance to maybe do something a little bit differently. Maybe show us if you think you should be playing a different role.
Yeah, I just off the top of my head, I think 4 guys are locked into a position and a side. Like I think Glass, Novak, O'Reilly are all centers, and then Forsberg is your top left wing. Other than that, it'd be like you said, Parssinen could be a center. He could be a wing. He could Sissons both. Nyquist is a wing, but is he going to be? He's probably a right wing wherever he goes. But so like 5 guys have kind of locked into a spot, but definitely not locked into a shift time or a number of shifts, kind of a spot where they're going to get this number of minutes every night. I mean, yeah, Brunette's often talked about he wants balance, and I know every coach wants balance, but what kind of balance does he want? Does he want every line to have, a scorer, a distributor, and a defensive stalwart, or does he want one line that just does kind of one thing well? I don't know. What kind of balance does he really want? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. If anything, they've moved away from the line identity, which should, I think, excite a lot of people because it feels like, maybe now Brunette is more open to using things, or using players based on, their abilities and strengths and weaknesses rather than just, we need you to be this role or we need you to play this player. So, I mean, as you mentioned, like we talk about a top 9, it could be a top 12. Like you could, put together a 4th line that it's like, okay, like maybe this guy can score some 30 points a season, so it's going to be fascinating to see. I do want to touch on defense just a little bit. I know that that's locked in or seemingly locked in. To me, it's a fascinating thing because, you have 7 guys that were everyday NHLers last year. Yeah. And now you have, to me, 3 players who just, let's say 9 months ago, the Preds were kind of banking on being, maybe their defensive core of the future. Jeremy Lauzon, Alex Carey, and Dante Fabro. And in that 9 months, it now seems like one of them is going to be fighting for a job, basically.
Yeah. Remember how, for the last 2 years or maybe 3 years, it felt like, okay, well, they got to figure it out. Are they going Fabro or are they going Carrier? And they just continue to keep both of them in the mix. And yet another year of that. And now they're on 1-year deals, and who knows? Yeah. It's so funny. And it does make the Jeremy Lauzon signing look worse every day because it's like he's not the most effective at his role, but they're paying him enough and they signed him to play that role. So it's like you never want to have, I mean, yes, you can never have too many defensemen, but if you don't have 7 good ones, if you've got 5 good ones and then 2 okay ones or 4 good ones and 3 okay ones. What are you really doing? You need to figure out which one of these guys is your actual future for that position and go with it and try to get something for the other one or figure out a new path, because you can't just keep rolling this kind of idea. Oh, which one's going to be hot tonight? Faber or Carrier or Lozon is, or are we going to get one of these other guys to come up and play his role? It's just that part. I still do think the top 4 is set. I think that's pretty set. They're going to roll with that at least for the first month and see how it goes. But yeah, the bottom pairing and those 3 guys, it's just, how is that going to shake out?
Yeah, that's not even including X factors or are you going to dangle Tyson Barrie at the trade deadline or, even sooner, depending on what deals you get. So, I mean, that to me it's seems like the storyline that's wrapped up the most, but it's also going to be the one that's going to be fascinating going into the regular season because it feels like the Predators have got to make some sort of, big move on that as well, just to get some consistency going. So interesting thing to watch. As we mentioned, 2 more preseason games this week. So maybe we'll get a better idea of kind of what Andrew Burnett is thinking in terms of permanent lines and consistency and all that. And also plenty to watch in the final practices as well. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. Give us a pitch as to where we can find your work.
Well, penaltyboxradio.com, of course. You can find Nick's work there as well. Find me on Twitter at AlexDaugherty1. And I just want to say, in Ann, I've been hanging out with Ann quite a lot this week because she's been at training camp. Ann has been a wonderful cohort, teammate, whatever you want to call her, at training camp, and has come through in a pinch in regards to snacks.
Yes.
So there have been multiple times where I've been, hungry, and for some reason the little store isn't open, and she's been kind enough to share snacks with us. And that right there should tell you all you need to know about Ann.
Her snacks saved my ass during draft weekend. Let me tell you that for sure. She's the best. She'll be back later this week. You can find my work, as Alex mentioned, at penaltyboxradio.com. Follow me on Twitter at _NSMorgan. Follow the show on Twitter at LO_Predators. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. So just search Locked on Predators and hit that subscribe button. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked on Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with an all-new episode. We'll see you then.